Hello everyone, Jacob here. In the last lesson, we talked about this structure right here, unless, and how it's used to talk about a condition for doing something, and how it's very similar to if not. And we went through 3 examples. I explained how to use it in a sentence. And today, we're going to talk about the opposite structure, okay? We're going to talk about the opposite structure, which in English is as long as, which we have right here, as long as. And in Korean, this means 뭐뭐 하기만 하면 or 뭐뭐 하는 한. And it has exactly the same usage. It's to talk about a condition for doing something. It's to talk about a condition, but whereas unless is very similar to if not, as long as is very similar to if. Okay? So we're going to actually go through the same examples that we saw last time instead of looking at new examples. This way, I think you can become used to using both structures and how they're similar but actually different, opposites. So if we go back to these examples, in the first one it says, I will go to the beach unless it rains. Well, how can we change this sentence but keep the same meaning? Well, if we go down, we can do that by using as long as. I can say, I will go to the beach as long as it doesn't rain. Okay? So here, this sentence has actually exactly the same meaning as the one that we used in the previous sentence with unless, but in this sentence we're using as long as. And how are we using as long as? It's exactly the same. We're using it to give a condition for going to the beach. Again, I will go to the beach, but I have one condition, as long as it doesn't rain. So again, since as long as is not negative, it's closer to if, we need to put a negative here. Okay? But the meaning is the same. So let's go ahead and look at the second example. If we go back up and look at the example that we used before, it says, unless you have a ticket, you can't enter. Okay? It's right up here. Unless you have a ticket, you can't enter. Well, if we go back down, let's look at how we can change the sentence using as long as. Well, as long as you have a ticket, you can enter. So again, we're making exactly the same sentence with exactly the same meaning, but instead of using unless, we're using as long as. Let's move on to the third example. Let's go back up real quick. It says, you can't borrow money unless you pay me back. Okay? You can't borrow money unless you pay me back. Well, how can we change this sentence? Well, the same as with the others. I can say, you can borrow money. You can borrow money as long as you pay me back. You can borrow money as long as you pay me back. Once again, we're giving a condition for borrowing money, but instead of using unless, we're changing the can't to can, and we're using as long as. Okay? So I just wanted to go over that to make sure you understand that unless and as long as are actually opposites, and you can use both. You can use both in the same sentences. You just have to be careful and make sure you change them in the right way. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. I hope you understood, and I will see you next time.